Welcome, everybody, to a Thanksgiving edition of Lifelong Educators Show. If you are celebrating Thanksgiving, happy early Thanksgiving to you. Joined by my co-host, Dotan Tamir from Israel. Dotan, hello.
Hello, hello.
All right. And we have our guest, Elliot Neff. And Elliot, I'm going to go back to my notes because I want to read the episode title because we worked on this for a while. The king of engaging and difference-making online chess courses, Elliot Neff. Hello, Elliot.
Thank you, Josh and Totan. It's a pleasure to be on the show today. Excited to share from my experience to help anybody else in whatever sphere they are in, as long as they want to make a difference in kids' lives.
Nice. Tell us where you are joining us from.
So today I'm joining from the middle of the United States, Sioux Falls, South Dakota, or shall we say the center, northern center part. Spent most of my life in Washington State, but moved out here recently this year, and excited to control the center. You know, in the game of chess, they say that controlling the center is one of the most strategic moves you can make. So since I used to live in the corner, I decided it was about time to follow my own advice. And so we moved to the center.
Okay. You are a man of ways of doing things and pivoting, which we'll get into. I also, though, want to kind of read the bio that we wrote for you, because I actually think it really encapsulates who you are. Elliot Neff worked in the real estate world before turning his passion into reality and moving into the chess space. He spent time in a chess supply store and later put 16 years of hard work into a nonprofit that funded children's chess lessons for families who could not otherwise afford the experience. Throughout this time, Neff was perfecting his own game too. He earned the title of National Master and finished a World Chess Championship in a draw, which we will come back to. He played 115 opponents simultaneously to raise funds for the Boys and Girls Clubs, the King County Youth Chess Program. He wrote his own book, and also a movie came out of some work he has done, which we'll go over. Neff eventually found his perfect fit in the online chess world by founding Chess for Kids, one of the top internet chess companies in existence today. His lessons have reached millions, and his work is far from finished. His chess teachings and inclusion of life lessons throughout each match are sure to affect the next generation for the better. Usually I would do that stuff kind of off the top of my head, but I really wanted to hit all those important points. You've done a lot, and we know you're a tad above 40, right? Because we read the 40 under 40. So we know you're a tad above 40. But talk about all that you've done up to this point and give us like one nugget that just sticks out for you as the most important.
Well, thank you, Josh. I really do appreciate that. And I do want to clarify just one aspect of that is I did not play in the World Chess Championships, but I did compete against one of the world champions when he was world champion, Vishy Anand, in a simultaneous exhibition. So he was playing a group of players at the same time. I was one of those groups and was able to hold him to a draw after 3.5 hours.
Nice.
That's what I consider one of my biggest wins, was holding off the world champion. And so just to clarify that, I am a national master in the game of chess, put in those hours and hours of practice. And I would say from just one key aspect, you can look at all the things that appear as successes, and it's easy to see that, and it's easy to think it's an overnight success, right? And it's just circumstance or providence or something, or something luck, people would say, but it's not. Outcomes come from habits, and developing healthy habits was a key to this. I became a master as a teenager through a commitment to the effort. And from age 12 to age 16, I was putting in a minimum of 4 hours a day studying the game of chess and training and practicing. I can remember one Saturday as a 14-year-old, I put in 14 hours of at the books. Why? Because I committed to the habit and applied the life lesson that we teach today, which is simply you can win in chess in life. You can draw, either side can win. And what else happens? How many of you
can
said
learn?
You can lose. Yes, you can learn. Losing is simply a mindset. And the faster a person embraces the learning, the faster they can grow. And that was a mindset I learned early on. In fact, I love to say, fail is simply an acronym, which stands for First Attempt in Learning. So that mindset is something that anyone can learn to apply. And some of the things that I was able to accomplish is not because I was some genius or some great person. I believe God gave me some unique abilities, and then applying discipline and healthy habits and mindsets of success is essential for making progress in these areas.
But and you had to correct us about the World Championship, but you did not correct Josh about playing against, what was it, 150?
So yeah, let's talk about that a second here. Is as a master in chess, you have a trained ability, which can appear absolutely amazing. Now, grandmasters will do simul's, they'll play in groups at a time, right? And so this one time, I was putting on a fundraiser with the Boys and Girls Clubs of King County, Seattle, Washington, and we wanted to raise funds and do something special for them. So what I said is, I will play all comers, however many come, at the same time, and every person who participates has an opportunity to donate funds towards the Boys and Girls Club's missions. So we had the executive director come out, a good friend of mine. We had, lots of students come out. At the end of the day, I ended up playing 115 games at the same time. And there is a video that's been published about this event. And people are always like, so how did you do? How did you score? And so it may look impressive. I did end up winning 111 of those games with 4 draws and no losses, including against a few masters who were in there, as well as many lower level students and players. Well, part of it is, of course, chess ability. The other half of it, though, is simply outlasting your opponent. That whole event lasted 8 hours with 1 5-minute break in the middle. So I'm walking around for 8 hours, and imagine if you're a player there, you figured out your move, and now you need to wait until I play 114 other moves. So by the time I get to your game, maybe you've forgotten the move you're going to play. So there are a few aspects to that which make it fun, exciting. It was a blast doing, and it was so cool to be able to raise funds and awareness for the mission of Boys and Girls Clubs King County. Calvin Lyons was the executive director, still a great friend. Shout out to him. He's moved on to additional work impacting youth, as he always has. A great connection there. So thanks for bringing that up. It's a good memory, and I love to do it.
I think we've already begun to go down a really important road for our listeners who might be enrichment providers or might be education entrepreneurs or whatever they're doing. In that story, you talked about fail, the Elliott Neff version of fail. You talked about outlasting. You talked about moves / pivoting. And in the end, I think you really talked about having fun. And you kind of have to have that attitude potentially on a daily basis when you're running your own business. True or false?
Definitely true. I would say that as an entrepreneur running a business, and I would like to make a case no matter which business, however, I could be incorrect, because anytime you say all, you're in a dangerous territory. My perception, my belief is that in order to succeed as an entrepreneur, you have to have a mindset of positive outcome, of expectation, of having fun, of enjoying what you're doing. Otherwise, don't do it. In fact, what I do today, making a difference in the lives of kids locally, nationally, a little bit globally, is so rewarding that I feel I have not had a job in over 20 years now. And another mindset I like to put in place there is I see the glass as always half full. It's never how empty it is. It's how much progress we've made. Many times people can say, well, I want to achieve this, but look at how far away I am. I can't get there. In chess terms, it's like, I want to get to this rating. Look how far away I am. In business, I want to achieve this goal. That's so far away. Well, I learned something really key from a strategic coach. Shout out to Dan Sullivan, the founder of the amazing Mindsets at Strategic Coach.
Oh, cool.
And he made this simple observation once, which I feel is so profound that I have used it ever since. And that is simply, instead of looking at that goal, which is like looking at the horizon and going, oh no, it's so far away, how am I ever going to get there? No, just do a 180. Turn around and look at where you came from. Look at the progress you have made. And suddenly you're going to be filled with energy to see the progress and now take the next steps forward. And once again, turn around and look at the new progress. In fact, I like to say, can you imagine if some of our school systems considered changing how they scored things to this kind of mindset? You see, when a student gets a grade that says, here's what you all did wrong, versus imagine if they got a grade that said, here's what you all did right. Congratulations. What are you going to accomplish next? Can you imagine the difference in mindset? I don't know what would happen, but I would love to see the experiment.
Listen, Josh described a few important pieces in the picture that is Elliot. I think what I really relate to is the fact that you're combining doing something that you're very passionate about with doing it with a business, from a business point of view. You know, it's a for-profit business, right? And you are building a business here, and being an educator. And those three things not always connect. It's quite rare to find somebody that can really connect. And I really relate to that, because that was, I think, what I've been doing for the past 13, 14 years myself. And I think that creates that motivation that you're talking about, of adding that optimism that you have, is a key for sure. Do you also surround yourself by people that are like that are like-minded, that are kind of taking the same path? Do you have some kind of a group that I can join?
That's a great question, Dotan. And I would say it is essential to surround yourself with like-minded individuals, right? With those who you can learn to grow from, and those who can challenge you so that you can learn and grow from each other. Because just like in a chess game, you know how there are all these different chess pieces. And which piece do you consider the most valuable? Most people would know, hey, probably the queen, right? The king is the objective,
players,
but the queen is the most powerful. And then the pawn is the smallest, and it doesn't do that much. It feels weak. And then the knight and the bishop are in between. Well, here's the thing. If you tried to play a chess game and you said, because the queen is most valuable, therefore I'm going to play with just my queen, the most powerful, you will lose against an opponent that uses the whole team. Because the team of unique abilities working together provides strength. So from a mindset standpoint and surrounding yourself with the right mindsets, I like to be surrounded with people who have a growth mindset, who look at opportunity, who look at win, draw, learn, who look at these mindsets and yet have greatly differing capabilities and talents. Because that is how we create a great team. It ties into one of the life skills we teach students, which is simply better together. Value difference. Don't try to make everybody the same. We are different, and celebrate it. And then figure out how the addition and the multiplication factor of those differences can create something absolutely amazing. Now at Chess for Life, yes, we do create our platforms, with Facebook and LinkedIn and different areas to share these mindsets of success freely as far as we can, because we want to see every kid and the world in general to embrace this kind of an approach instead of a small or a scarcity mindset. We would rather see the abundance mindset where win, win, win is truly possible. It's not a world of win, lose. In other words, if I grow our business and we achieve a lot more students coming and helping a lot more, it's not that we took those away from anybody. No, it means more kids in this world have more opportunity.
So at the root of it, and we've talked about this, Elliot, and Dotan and I have talked about this, and all of us have known this before we got in this little club of three, is abundance. Is abundance. There's an abundance of kids, there's an abundance of knowledge, and we have, according to John Danner, one of the investors that Dotan and I follow, this world came at us 5 years probably earlier than we expected in terms of the opportunity to learn online, and the pandemic helped with that. But we are now in a place where there are kids to be reached globally. And so talk about, please, Elliot, your goal now, which has been a little bit of a pivot, because you had your in-person opportunities that were taking place on a daily, weekly basis, several thousand kids in Washington State. Who knows what will happen there? But you have made the move and are following it with online chess, correct?
Mhm. Absolutely. A great point. So as we all know, the world has gone through a paradigm shift in the last couple of years due to the COVID response. And that paradigm shift does not go back. It's like stretching an elastic band extremely far. It never will go back to its original shape and size. And the world has experienced this in the form of technology acceptance among groups that before were closed-minded or felt it was impossible to do. And I say this, for example, from the sake of many times school districts would have budgets that were so tight and so difficult to invest into the great investments necessary to bring technology forward at a rapid pace. And at the same time, it's easy if you've had been in the education space or different spaces for 20, 30 years, how hard is it is to change a habit, right? Or a mindset. Yet what did we see disrupt in the first 6 to 9 months after the COVID shutdowns occurred? Suddenly, people who you would never think would be using technology are becoming adept at working with technology and Zoom and online meetings and such. And so all of that laid the groundwork for an exponential growth in opportunity. And that is where the abundance and the positive side of it looks. You could look at everything that happened. We had to shut down 18,000 square feet of physical space where kids were coming to us. You could say, look what we lost. We chose to look at what are we gaining. So we're gaining a new capability and a new opportunity. How can we leverage this in order to further our core mission of teaching life skills through the game of chess and empowering 1 million students per week? That is what we set out to do. And within the first 6 weeks of that shutdown, we innovated what would normally have taken us probably 3 to 5 years. So we pivoted extremely fast, putting all resources into doing that. And since then, we've refined it further. And so we don't see ourselves going back to being exclusively in-person centers. No, we have this new capability, which means that students who otherwise could not come to one of our locations to get the benefit of life lesson training in chess, they now can participate thanks to that virtual world. Now, does it mean that we would never do physical centers? No, at the right time, in-person experience is something key. And here's where we don't look at it just like, okay, what's the best business choice? No, how do we further the mission? And to develop life lessons through the game of chess. Chess itself teaches what? Complex problem-solving skills, patience, forethought, calculation, strategic thinking, many of these aspects that ties into educational concepts in classrooms. It helps with early learning math, pre-algebra concepts. There's so many aspects from preschools that we partner with Head Start through colleges. But what about the EQ side? What about the social emotional development? And we are doing what we can and making great steps forward in bringing these mindsets in through a virtual environment. Yet imagine a kid sitting down at a chessboard in person, shaking hands with his opponent or her opponent, and going through that in-person experience of win, draw, and learn. It's powerful. And so we anticipate that by going through the online space, we will be able to empower many more kids like we are now in 37 and growing states in the US, in multiple countries, in multiple provinces, different parts of the world. And at the same time, they will be able to gain that EQ side as well by attending tournaments and competitions. So it's continually evolving. We're talking today, and in 6 months, there's probably going to be a new aspect of it that has been tweaked and moved forward. And it's super exciting to see the possibilities. I traveled to Africa at one point in order to help some youth that come from a slum there using the game of chess. That was a lot of time and resources. With technology, you can be there by clicking a button.
So yeah, you're the kind of person that wakes up in the morning and say, I'm gonna change the world. And by teaching chess, but if you're not teaching chess, you're really changing the world. So before the pandemic, when kids were not really adapted to doing all that kind of meeting people from other places through the screen, it was also kind of hard to think, how am I really going to do that? Because in order to impact millions of kids, you start thinking, oh, so I need millions of different people to go and travel and take a plane and go to places and all those devices and all those. So that was way more, much harder to accomplish before this. I remember in 2017, at Big Idea, we were doing the first virtual after school program for kids with special needs in partnership with a nonprofit here in Israel. And there were 3 kids in a group with an instructor online after school using Google Meet or something like that. But the kids had no idea. So the instructor, before the session began, the instructor had to go physically to all the houses of all those kids and make sure that they are able to click and log in and we use a camera, and I'm talking 4 years ago. But the world has changed so dramatically. And I think it's much easier to change the world now.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, I would like to add to that pre the COVID shutdown, we already were working on how do you accomplish 1 million youth a week? It's hard enough to find good chess players. It's even harder to find a good chess player who understands education and working with children. So how in the world are you going to scale to 1 million youth? And the way that we addressed that problem is we turned it on its head. We said, the children are already being taught by educators. There are already educators who care about kids and how to work with them. Let's figure a way, if we could, to simply train the trainer and provide them with the tools that allow them to bring the benefits of chess to their students. And we did, and we built technologies and different things. But the challenge, as you were alluding to, is pre-COVID, it would be like, okay, we want to get this here, but we don't have devices and kids don't use them and teachers don't use them. That is gone. That barrier is 100% removed. So
this is an important, very important point, I think, Dotan, that we have to pause for a second, because we have spoken to a lot of enrichment providers who recognize that there's an online opportunity, also know that their world has been in person, and they're worried about taking that first step, or they haven't figured out how to take that first step.
Mm-hmm.
And so talk about first, Dotan, not everybody has to be or can be Elliot Neff. And second of all, how much can we use and can they use to train the trainer? Because think about sports, right? We've struggled with getting sports providers to go online. But if they're reaching into the schools and finding the teachers who are into this, do you think that's a way for them to potentially get and grow in the online space?
I think what Elliot is doing is basically using a skill and a game and a passion to make a difference in a person's lives and help them grow. And this, you can take chess and replace chess with many other things, right? And they'll do different things and they'll take you to different directions, but you can take it to coding and you can take it to different arts, and you can even teach veterinary and medicine and other things. And you can do all of that online today. I think still there is a gap. A lot of the gap was filled in the last year and a half, but there's still a gap, and we still need to think what still need to be developed and brought to the world in order to grow this list of skills that kids can learn and change their life. I'm not sure about sports. I think it depends. It really depends. But to your point, teachers are the core. The instructors, the educators are the core. And I read a lot of articles saying that content is not the king anymore, not even the queen. Content is, content was the king. I have to show some relation to chess.
That's it. You've reached the end.
I think content was the king, but with kids, content was never really the king. It was always the educator, and people that are trying to people that are thinking that, oh, now when it's digital, just give the kids some content and it will work. That's not enough. Kids need a role model, they need an educator, they need someone to give them this personal touch. And this is the challenge, because you still need good teachers, you still need good educators. And I'll direct that question to you, Elliot. What do you think about that? Because I know you came up with this idea of there are already educators out there, but is this still a barrier? Is there still a limit based on the quality and quantity of educators?
Well, thank you, Dotan, for bringing up that question, because not all educators are the same, right? Just because you've completed a course in teaching or something doesn't mean you've developed the skill of engaging a classroom or a group of students. And there are so many aspects to this that there are all-star educators and there are educators. And it is fascinating to see. To me, what matters is not so much the person, although the person is who's going to deliver, of course, and do this, is the way it's delivered in a manner that the student finds it fun and engaging. And if you think about it, if you teach something too complex, it is confusing, you don't have fun and engagement. If you teach something too simple, it's not engaging, it's not challenging. So this question, I think, is a key one, is how do you take this forward? And to the point of saying sports in an online world, potentially, I want to make a quick little point on this. I think what's essential is asking the right question. If we ask the question, is it feasible? That's like a yes or no. Instead, what if we said, assuming it was feasible, what would be necessary to make it fun and engaging for students? So now we open up the ideas and we can test and we can do that. And I do know some companies that have made some pretty amazing steps forward with bringing the value of sports education into homes, even in areas that they had no physical presence before. So there are things that could be done. Love to see it. And I want to take a moment too and say, Dotan, what you've done with some of the work with, for example, Click2. You know, the power of something there is you take out one of the barriers of success of someone with an idea, with a talent, with an ability that they want to share to students. You see, you mentioned how an educator, as I am, an entrepreneur, right, and a chess master, right, all came together. Well, when you're an entrepreneur and you're building a business, you need the ability to build it. Well, if you've got the right tools, you don't have to create everything from scratch. And when I saw some of the power of some of the tools that you have done, and I applaud you for that, right, you're solving those issues that may likely and will empower many other people with great value to be able to focus upon fun and engagement versus the back end logistics. So hats off to how you're not only doing the education yourself, you're making it easier for others to make enrichment training in a variety of spaces so much more powerful.
Thank you so much. And Thanksgiving is tomorrow, right? So it's the right time to say thank you for everything. Yeah.
I was wondering how you were going to react to that.
I have it just, you know, gave me another question to ask. So Josh, I know it might be a question that you were going to ask, but I'll ask it anyway. So Elliot, you mentioning how Click2 is really giving a tool and kind of solving a lot of the headaches that those entrepreneurs may have that blocks them from thinking, from creating, from imagining. What else needs to be solved, right? So what else? And I'm sure the answer is a lot, and we still don't know the full answer. But from what you are experiencing right now, and I know you are mentoring many great people that are in this space, and you hear from them what they're struggling with, what they need, other tools to take their ideas forward. What are we still missing that need to be created?
You know, that's a deep question. And there's no way I would say I've got the perfect answer, but my response in this space is again, a little bit of a mindset, or as everything does, it all boils back down to a chess analogy. You see, everything is chess. So the
Chess
one
for
I like
life,
to
baby.
the one I like to use here is, I like to tell people the reason I'm a master in chess is because simply I play chess backwards. Many people think that chess is, you have to be able to calculate and really memorize and move forward. Well, the trouble with all of that is in the first 3 moves of a chess game, right? 3 moves for each side. Do you have any idea how many unique possible positions are there? I'll save you the time. Approximately 9 million. And if you just go 4 moves into a chess game, 4 for each side, the number of possible positions explodes to 280 billion. It's not about memorization. So how do you achieve? In chess, very shortly, I think about what are the advantages and disadvantages, and then what is a reasonable goal? And then how do I get my pieces towards that goal? And therefore, what move now will most efficiently move me towards that goal? So that's a simple way of describing how I think in chess. Now take that application to the question you asked about what is missing for educators and enrichment programs in this new space that we're in with the COVID response and the explosion in technological capabilities that has made the global world very connected. So what is missing? The question, again, ask the right question, and then the answers may become easy. So I would encourage every entrepreneur who's navigating this environment to ask this primary question. Imagining yourself 5, 10 years down the road. What is the role of in-person versus virtual? What is your focus? Is it a hybrid model to best achieve your goal? Is it a virtual only model to achieve your goal? Is it a temporarily virtual because you're only going to do in person? And if that was your response, I would strongly encourage you to say, what aspect of virtual stays? Because the world is now so connected, I don't believe anybody can afford to ignore this new capability, or they'll be left behind. It's just almost like saying you're going to have a business without a web page these days. Right? That's almost an unthinkable concept. It's not a nice to have. It's just a bottom line must have. So what aspect are you going to do in the virtual space? And what does that look like for you? Is it a combination for us, right? We can do virtual classes now with premium classes, kids going through their achievement charts, graduating level by level. We got students who've won national championships, state championships. We don't say a lot about that because we want to focus on life achievement. But we can do it, and kids can now go through these levels anywhere in the world. Whereas before you had to come to one of our physical centers to do that experience. And so that's a great benefit that has come. Will we go back to in-person centers? At the right time, we will empower that in-person experience because we believe there's an aspect of EQ development that is so much better in person. Doesn't mean we have to do all that. No, here's collaboration. What if there's other organizations we partner with to deliver this? Who's your partner, perhaps, to collaborate on filling the void? Just like we mentioned about Click2. That could be filling a back-end void. Maybe there's a front-end piece. So I'm not really giving you an answer so much as an idea, a way of thinking, the kind of thinking I took myself at Chess for Life, even in the first few months of March, April, and May of 2020. It was, what does the future look like? It will involve some aspect of hybrid, in-person and virtual.
So on this Thanksgiving edition of Lifelong Educators, does it go back to abundance and gratitude and just being thankful for the opportunity that maybe your business made it through the pandemic? Maybe you lost some of your business, but you recognized an opportunity in the online space. And I'm going to go out on a limb here because we're all in a very thankful mood. And I will volunteer myself and Dotan and Elliot that any of us here in this community that we've created would be happy to extend a hand to anybody who's listening now or in the future, that whatever you need help with, especially in the online space, we're here to help. Any arguments there?
I love to help. We love to help. And what matters to me is helping those who are trying to do good. If somebody comes and says, I just want to increase our profits and, my goal is this dollar figure, it is not energizing to me. But if somebody says, I am on this mission to accomplish this, and here's why this is important, to help other people, to improve things, to do these elements, I'm highly energized. And I was helped by so many individuals over the years, from being a teenage entrepreneur all the way up to today. One of my mentors gave me some advice, and shout out to Andy Catterall. If he listens to this, he's now moved to England, where he was originally from. He gave me a bit of advice that stuck with me over the years, and I think it's perfect for the time of Thanksgiving. He said, always have one hand up and one hand down. Always have the hand up where someone is helping you and feeding and speaking into your life from their vast experience and wisdom, and always be helping someone else. And I think if we all took that to heart, I am so grateful for what I believe God has blessed us with the unique abilities we each have, the opportunity to do good, to help others. And I do believe it comes down to an attitude of gratitude, being thankful and grateful for what we have, and at the same time, striving to use what we have to help others and bless others. And so this is a great time of year to reflect and to talk about these things. And absolutely, if people have questions, clarifications, comments, reach out. And, just because I've said it doesn't make it true. That's the beauty of chess too. You test ideas on the board, right? But these are things I believe, and I'm always learning and always growing. And join the conversation, and love to hear from anyone who has a question or a comment or would just like to share some ideas.
Or play against you. You said something earlier, and it just still echoes in my mind about it's like running a business without a web page. And the world has gone through many transformations. And you're talking about the web page, the internet transformation that today, of course, it's vital for any business. Before that, it was phone. It's like businesses worked without having a phone line to call to, but who could imagine that today you don't really need a phone anymore because people can reach you through the internet. But it's like the phone and then the web page, and now it's basically online services. And like in any other business, the enrichment and the education are services, and they have to move online. And my question to you, so you're talking about you spoke about the educator and about the platform and about how you achieve all that stuff. How is it all being accepted and by the parents and by the kids themselves? What do they think about this transition? How do they react to that?
That's another big question, because there's been a lot of
I hope I asked the right question this time.
So in terms of the online space, we've had many students and parents say to us, thank you for shifting, making this possible. And that was in the first few months, right? When instead of losing the opportunity to continue this, we provided something that was fun and engaging, could be done at home, and continued their preparation to succeed wherever they go. We've had many people during that first year, especially, who reached out to then say, so when the COVID shutdowns are gone, can you keep this online? We don't have to fight traffic to come. We can do this from home. This is so convenient. We love this. the convenience factor. And we found that people who might not otherwise have thought about doing this came to realize by the requirement of doing this, that there was benefit in considering it. So it has been very well received. At the same time, others are like, no, I can't, I have to do stuff in person. Well, I think that mindset shifted over the length of time the shutdowns occurred to where we have to do this online. And once you try it, you start to experience that, oh, this actually, there is good with this. You see, I think it's a little bit of that inertia or the fear of the unknown of just getting over that fear factor. It's try it, see it, and then you experience it, builds your confidence. And so I don't see much opposition to it. Now, if you have a choice, am I going to go in person or am I going to go in, use the online? Different people are going to have different choices, but there will, I believe, always be a time when they're going to say, I need online. Imagine the future of education, the future of enrichment, where when a student is under the weather, where you don't want that person necessarily with the other students, but they're not so sick they couldn't do school. Jump into the virtual class. Why get behind? Stay right with your teammates, right? There's so many conveniences, or the vehicles or the traffic is bad, especially in Seattle where we had much of that, right? Why fight the
Washington,
traffic
DC.
if you can just go there and then maybe once a month do something in person? So there's so much upside from that. I don't know if I'm directly answering your question or responding to it, but I saw several different mindsets of response to this whole situation. One of them was the embrace the opportunity. Look at what it's going to do. Imagine if this continues and the whole world has grown in technology and capability. Imagine what we could do then to make an impact. Then I saw nearly the opposite extreme. How do we survive? How do we buckle down, wait for this to pass? In fact, the analogy I used with my team in the first month after this shutdown occurred is I said, imagine a tidal wave hitting the beach. And you have two choices. One of them is be that rock. You batten the hatches and you are the rock and the wave passes over. And when it's passed, there you are, sturdy and strong. Or what if you could be a surfer who says, I'm going to surf this wave and turn it into energy and opportunity? And I said, I choose the surfing.
Guys, we said we were going to do this show 45 minutes. We're 45 minutes in. I think that we're not going to get kicked off the air, so that's good. I'm going to ask Elliot to tell one last story that ties very much into Thanksgiving. And I would like him to raise his right arm and grab what is over his right shoulder and tell the story of going to Africa and everything that you've done. I don't want the Russell Wilson football. No.
Football. Oh,
I don't want to hear about Russell Wilson. I want to hear about this. I think this is a wonderful story to end our show.
Thank you. I love to share this little bit here. Not sure how many of you have heard of this story, but there was some years ago, a book came out called The Queen of Kampala, and telling the story of this young girl in the slum of Katwe in Uganda. And this little girl named Fiona went to chess club because there was food. There were many days she slept on the street. She was homeless, days without food, but she heard about this chess club where there was food. She didn't know how to play, but she went there. And if you played chess and learned how to play, then you got some food, porridge. So she did. She started to get better. Eventually she beat a boy and she got excited. Ooh, I can beat a boy. And then she went on to improve rapidly and she became the junior champion of Uganda. And then she qualified to become the youngest ever young lady to represent her country at the World Olympiad. There was a book written about the story. I heard about the story. We ended up putting on a fundraiser to help support this mission in that slum. And that's how I ended up meeting this young lady and her coach. Well, during that meeting, her coach was talking to me, the man who led this outreach. And long story short, I ended up becoming her chess coach to help her prepare for the World Olympiad. did that, just became friends and just helped out because they were doing on the opposite side of the world what I was trying to do here, instilling mindsets of success using the game of chess as that vehicle. And so we were friends. And a few years later, Disney acquired the rights to that book and produced a movie, a live action film, a true story called The Queen of Kampala. And right before the movie launched, I traveled over to Africa and helped train this young lady, help support them so that she could go compete with her best foot forward in the Olympia. And she did well, won both her matches there, and then came to Toronto Film Festival for the movie. And this was a drum that was given to me, a handmade drum from over there, signed by Robert Katende, the man who led that program. And the story has a beautiful, beautiful ending, you could say, or shall we say, next chapter, because we had the privilege of being able to help this young girl and a young man from the slum both get college scholarships here in the US. And both of them, Benjamin and Fiona, graduated this spring of 2021 with their 4-year degrees. And I'm so pleased to say that Benjamin is thriving and he's working on his master's now, just got accepted to Duke University. And here's a kid who from the slum had a lifelong dream of becoming a neurosurgeon someday. And the dream has suddenly turned into a possibility. And he's thriving and moving towards that path. And Fiona, the young girl who the book was written really about, her and her coach, she graduated and she has now, the latest I heard, gotten a job at Microsoft. Post her first 4 years, getting now like an internship and a job offer at Microsoft where she can take her background to have some global impact. And so it's just been a beautiful story to see how that has happened. And back to Robert Katende, who started this all out there using sports, by the way, soccer and chess to help youth. They have impacted over 4,000 kids in the slum. And when we talk about hybrid and in-person, I'll just put this out there. If people ever want to check out robertkatende.com or .org, Robert is on a mission. Ultimately, we had received donations, got enough acreage. He has a dream of building this state-of-the-art school that will do education, chess education for mindsets, and computer skills coding education. This was pre-COVID. And they've got the land, they've started classes. They still need to raise funds to ultimately build the whole project, but it's amazing to see what's going to happen. And I'm just, so thankful for what we've been able to do to help support them, support the many other students, and really the thousands of people who cared enough to support outreach like that. It's easy when we're here in America, especially, or in, shall we say, first world countries, to take for granted things that in a third world country are not the norm. I've been to South America, I've been to Africa, I've been to different places. And it really is, I believe, a responsibility of those who have much to use it in a way that benefits others.
Happy Thanksgiving. You got the last word, Dotan. Bring us out.
Just beautiful story. Just so you're so fortunate to have this in your backpack. So yeah, for great stories like that, for a great impact for the whole world. And I think this was not the end now. It's just a teaser for our next chapter.
Yeah. Some of the words that we should close out with that I continue to write down are gratitude, attitude, abundance, community. And that's going on not just at Thanksgiving, but every single day for us. And again, that arm is out. I know it's up and down also, but it's out, right? We're happy to help. So happy Thanksgiving to everybody. And Elliot, thank you for joining us. And Dotan, let's get out of here. It was a good show.
Glad to be here. Thank you for having us on. And happy Thanksgiving to you and to everyone listening, wherever you are in the world. We have a lot to be grateful for.
Happy Thanksgiving and happy Hanukkah.
That's all right. Cheers, everybody.
Bye-bye.